everyone, I'm Gian Lahir Macahalas, a third-year BSED English student of Negros Oriental State University, Shatan Campus. I'm here to discuss my part, which is change of processes in curriculum implementation. When we say curriculum implementation, it refers to how teachers deliver instruction and assessment through the use of specified resources provided in a curriculum. Now, change happens all the time. We alter old delivery of instructions to another relevant delivery that is more congruent and effective both in teaching and learning. At the end of today's video discussion, students will be able to identify the two most obvious ways of changes, recognize the guidelines for curriculum change to be successfully implemented, and reflect on how few factors have immediate relevance to us for the resistance of change. Curriculum implementation, change of process. Although many curricularists agree that implementation is an essential aspect of curriculum development, it is only in the last 15 years that implementation has become a major educational concern. Many assume that implementation is simply another step in the curriculum planning process. They therefore expect to proceed from the planning and design stages to the actual implementation stage with relative ease. How far is this assumption tenable? When we say tenable, it means the ability to maintain or defend. So how long will be able to defend this assumption? Let us consider some observation made by a few thinkers in this regard. Fallon and Pomfret of 1977 remarked that effective implementation of innovation requires time, personal interaction and contact, in-service training, and other forms of people-based support. There is therefore no substitute for the primacy or importance of personal contact among implementers and between implementers and planners or consultants. If the difficult process of unlearning old roles and learning new ones is to occur, it takes time, multiple actions are needed, as it serves to be an experiment to produce an outstanding result, especially because it takes time to adjust and it is sometimes hard to unlearn what we used to do and have to learn something else. Leithwood of 1982, like most other curricularists, considers implementation a process that attempts to reduce the difference between existing practices and the practices suggested by innovators or change agents. In other words, it occurs in stages and it takes time to win people over to a change. As we try to convince people to change, to separate from the old practices, we try to acknowledge ideas that slowly reduce the difference between the two. By this means, curricularists try to connect new innovations of practices to the old ones. According to Ornstein and Hunkins of 1988, they sum up these observations and view implementation as a separate component in curriculum action cycle. It is a logical step once a program has been developed and piloted. However, they point out that implementation involves attempts to change individuals' knowledge, actions, and attitudes. Obviously, it takes time. They also suggest that implementation is an interaction process between those who have created the program and those who are to deliver it, and we may add who are to use it. Thus, the purpose of curriculum development, regardless of level, is to effect a change in order to enable the students to attain the society's, and perhaps more importantly, the students' own goals. And implementation, as an essential part of curriculum development, brings into existence the anticipated changes. The changes can occur in several ways, but here are the two most obvious ways: slow change and rapid change. Slow change, the changes which take place in a long period of time. For example, when we incorporate minor adjustments in the course schedule, when we add some books to the library, or when we update the unit plan. For the rapid change, it is the one that happens very quickly. It is the result of new knowledge or social trends influencing the curriculum, such as computers or the technology being introduced in the curriculum. So, for the curriculum change to be successfully implemented, whether slowly or rapidly, we need to consider the following guidelines. The changes designed to improve student achievement must be technically sound. It means that changes should reflect research about what works and what does not work, as opposed to the bandwagon effect, under which we go along with whatever designs for improvement happen to be popular presently or in the future. Then there needs to be a change in the existing structure of allocation of responsibilities to students and teachers. One familiar context to ask, for example, is that of the distance education system. The proposed changes have to be manageable and feasible. We should not attempt to incorporate ideas concerning critical thinking or problem solving when, for instance, students do not have basic language ability. Next, the implementation of successful change efforts must be organic rather than bureaucratic. Strict adherence to rules and monitoring procedures meant for the pre change system are not conducive for effecting change. We need to replace this bureaucratic approach with an organic or adaptive approach that permits a necessary deviation from the original plan and recognizes the problems at the grassroots level. It is essential to avoid the do something, do anything syndrome. We need to focus on building a definite curriculum, the content and activities of which are sound and rational. The guidelines clearly indicate that they are systematically interrelated and they apply equally well to all levels of education. However, it is common knowledge that there has been resistance to change. As we all know, some are adamant for change. It is more so in the case of education and therefore curriculum. There might be various reasons for the resistance to change. Here, we shall take up a few factors that might have immediate relevance to us. They are as follows: the psychosocial barriers that people place between themselves and efforts of change. So we have traditions, right? We have traditions that we cherish and therefore we do not wish to change them. So we refuse to make difference out of our old practices or old habits with the belief that our traditions must be preserved. The second one, the element of inertia or the tendency to do nothing among the staff, the administration, and the community. Many, for example, are happy with the current institutional setup as a bureaucracy. Bureaucracies have clear lines of command and control. As a consequence to the first item above, the belief that things do not need to be changed. For instance, some of us still feel that present system of education caters adequately to the changing needs of the society, and all it requires is a facelift that is to be maintained. As a corollary, we may feel that a change being suggested is unwise and will thus be unproductive. By and large, the indifference of the teaching community and its lack of effort in staying abreast of the knowledge explosion which might require a change in role domains. More often than not, it views new curricular programs as requiring is to learn new skills in interpersonal relations, acquire new competencies in curriculum development. The rapidity of change. Many feel that if something is implemented one year, then it will most likely to be discarded when another innovation appears. As a result, they become information and action shy. Then, second to the last, lack of knowledge. Some either do not know about the innovation at all or have little information about it. Not all people are capable of changing. I mean, it takes time to adjust and to finally implement it to themselves. In relation to the fifth one, if the changes are rapid, some might be left behind because of lack of knowledge. Then the last one is lack of incentive. Many seem to resist change because they feel they do not get incentives worth their efforts, like financial or temporal support. They are not motivated enough to do and accept the changes. So, to sum up all the discussion, change is an inevitable force. It's hard to set it aside because we experience changes as we are growing. Either we acknowledge its process or decline to preserve our beliefs. What's important, especially in today's education system, is to continuously innovate ideas for the betterment of our future, but of course, with respect to the beliefs of others. Let's see these changes with boundaries as stepping stones for us to achieve our goals. So that's it for today's video discussion, and I hope you have learned something about change of processes in curriculum implementation. I will be providing a link below for more information. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching, everyone. Stay safe and God bless.